everybody, it's Leanne. Welcome to my kitchen. We are making enchilada soup today, and I'm really excited to share this recipe with you. We've got a version on our website. This is my own tweaking, so I'll be sure to share that with you a little later. And though, what I love about this recipe is that it's all about pantry basics. We've got cans of diced tomatoes and black beans and corn. So it's super fast and easy to put together, and it's going to be delicious. So what I have here are 2 small or 1 large onions diced in the big soup pot. I just sauteed them in a little bit of olive oil. So I don't really want them to get super brown. The edge is caramelized a little bit, and that's fine. They're just starting to get tender. So now I'm going to add my other ingredients because they will finish cooking during the process time for the soup to come together. So the recipe calls for garlic. I'm going to grab our roasted garlic aioli. The recipe calls for 3 cloves. So I am just going to start with maybe 2 teaspoons of that finely ground roasted garlic. And I'm doing this in the pot where there's some moisture. There's a little bit of olive oil with those onions. Because this is dehydrated garlic, I don't want it to brown. So I'm going to mix that right into the onion, and that'll keep it from browning. And right away, oh my goodness, does this kitchen ever smell good. So hopefully you can see that there. And we're just going to start adding all the rest of our goodies. So we have 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I'm doubling the recipe because soup like this is fantastic for lunches. We often will have a soup on hand for lunch. So here we go, right into our pot. So far, pretty easy peasy. I'll scrape these out as we go along. I don't want to take your time watching me scrape a can. We've got 2 cans of low sodium black beans. In we go. Love to incorporate more beans into our diet here at the house. 2 cans of whole kernel corn. So far, so good, right? Everybody can open those cans and toss them in a pot. And now it calls for enchilada sauce, prepared enchilada sauce. So EPICURE's enchilada sauce is a dry powder, of course, in the package. So typically to make our enchilada sauce, you would mix this with some water and some tomato paste. So what I'm going to do is add the water and tomato paste right into the soup pot. And then it'll have all the ingredients it needs to come together. So first, I'm going to show you my super cool trick with a can of tomato paste. So when I'm using tomato paste in a recipe, I open one end of the can, and before I learned this trick, I would just try to scrape that out into my pot. But what I'm actually going to do is settle that lid on there, flip it over, and open the other end too. So what we're going to have is a tube with 2 flat lid pieces on either end. There we go. Now, when I start to push that out of the can, as soon as the lid comes to the edge, I'm going to grab it and slide it right off. So see how slick that cleans the lid? Try not to hurt your fingers. And then using this part of the lid, I'm going to push it right out into my pot. Ta-da! And then use the can to scrape off the rest. Now there's just a little bit of tomato paste left stuck to the can. So I'm going to go in with my silicone 3-in-1 spatula and just take off that remainder. But it's so much easier to get every little drop when the can is totally open like that. So love that little kitchen hack. Then we're going to come back, add our spices, add our water. And our recipe also calls for chicken broth. And this is, again, one of my favorite little hacks from EPICURE. I've still got tomato paste on me. There we go. Of course, we've got our fantastic chicken broth right here. So 1 cup of broth, as per the label, is 1 teaspoon of broth out of the jar, plus a cup of water. So I need 4 in here. So I'm just going to add 4 right into the pot. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And then I'm going to add 4 cups of water. So 1, you can measure if you like, 2, 3, 4. And then our enchilada sauce is a cup per package as well. So 1 and 2, because we're using 2 packs of the enchilada sauce. So there we go. Give this all a stir. Now this is going to simmer away on the stove, and this is another really neat step. This is going to come up to a simmer, and when it does and it's gently bubbling, I'm going to take 2 whole defrosted boneless skinless chicken breasts and pop them right into the soup. And the soup is essentially going to become the poaching liquid for the chicken. And I'm going to let it sit like that on low heat for about an hour, and then it'll be ready to shred. You can also do this whole process in your slow cooker. So we'll come back after that chicken is cooked and show you what we've got. And we're back. Our soup is at a gentle simmer. As you can see from the steam, it is piping hot all the way through. So now I'm going to add our chicken, because what we've created is essentially the braising liquid for our chicken. So in it goes. I'm going to save that other chicken breast for another purpose. And that's just going to poach gently down in there. We'll keep checking on it, and when it is done, we'll shred it and add it back into the soup. Okay, so that's been about an hour and a half, and you'll see as that enchilada mix cooks, it thickens, so our soup has this beautiful texture. I'm really looking forward to that. And then our chicken is hiding down inside. There we go. So as you can see, it's thoroughly cooked, and you'll know when it's all starting to fall apart like that. So just get a firm grip on it, and we'll put it out here on our cutting board. We'll take both of those out. The other one's hiding in here somewhere. There we go. I'm just going to use my tongs to hold them still, and they should fall apart really simply. With the fork here, we should be able to pull them apart. There we go. And so I'm just going to shred them like this and put them back into our pot. So you can see, because we cooked it really low and slow, that chicken, even though it's pulling apart in little threads, it's still juicy and tender. So it's going to be really yummy in our soup. So I'm going to get shredding, and then I'll meet you back at the pot. Our chicken is all shredded, so it's going to go back into the pot. And now I love chicken in an enchilada, but it doesn't have to be chicken. If you've got a little bit of ground pork or ground beef, brown that up and toss it in here. Or you could keep it completely vegan. Use your beans and corn, add some extra beans if you like. And it doesn't need to be a black bean. It could be a kidney bean, Romano, mixed beans, whatever you have. And swap out the chicken broth and use a veggie broth. And then you've got a totally delicious vegetarian or vegan meal, depending on if you choose to use the cheese that I'm going to add in a few minutes. Okay, so our chicken's in the pot, and the other thing that I did without you seeing me is add 1/4 block of cream cheese. And that is just melted into the soup to make it extra rich. And now I'm going to add maybe a cup and a half of shredded cheddar. And that is just going to enrich the soup as well. We'll hold back a little to garnish, because of course enchiladas are usually lovely and cheesy. Again, I'm not sure if you've got a vegan brand of cheese that melts really well, but you can always skip the cheese if you're looking to make this a vegan alternative. And that is just going to melt, and we'll be ready to plate in just a minute. And here's our enchilada soup ready to enjoy. At the very end, after I'd added the cheese, I then tested it for seasonings. So I checked for salt, I added a little pepper. I probably added about a teaspoon to this entire stock pot of soup, teaspoon of salt. And then I also checked to see if it needed a tiny bit of enrichment with a pinch of sugar. Because it has canned tomato products in there, I often find that if I use a canned tomato item, just a tiny bit of sugar rounds out those flavors and makes it a little deeper and richer. So I did add about a teaspoon of sugar to the soup as well. So what I love about this soup, or about tortilla soup, is half the fun is garnishing your plate. So let's see what we're gonna do. We'll spoon up a serving here. Doesn't that look incredible? I'll tell you, on a cold, rainy night, this is just what you need. So we're going to add a little garnish of some sour cream, or you could go with some beautiful thick Greek yogurt in the middle, just for a little bit of tang and contrast. I'm going to come in with a little bit of hot sauce. Because I didn't add anything else spicy to this, just the enchilada mix, if you enjoy it a little extra spicy, you can season your own bowl. So that's what I'm doing here. Your favorite hot sauce. Maybe another little garnish of shredded cheddar. Don't need too much because there's already some yummy cheese in there. And cilantro. Cilantro haters, don't look away. If you don't like cilantro, certainly don't use the cilantro. But here we go. It's a gorgeous piping hot bowl of soup, and I wish you were here to smell it because it smells divine. Dinner is ready.